Hello, I'm Dane. Welcome to another episode of Dax Jutsu. In today's episode, we will create a full year calendar heat map. Okay, so let's begin. First, we need to prepare our dates table. You can have the usual um, date element columns, but we need to add extra columns to the table. First, let's begin with the month and quarter. So basically, what month and quarter means is that if quarter one is from January to March, January is month one, Feb is month two, and March is month three. And if it is quarter two already, then April is month one, May is month two, and June is month three. Now, to do that, you can use calculated columns or you can do that in the query editor. And let me show you the formula I use. Mm, So, where's that? Month and quarter. Okay, so I already had the month number, and what I did was I divided the month number using number.mod or modulo division. So month 1 minus 1 number.mod over 3 then plus 1. Now in DAX, do I have a DAX version? In DAX, we can simply use the mod function. So that's month number over 3. If it is 0, then return 3. Otherwise, 3. Okay. Okay. Another thing we want is, of course, we want our date, and I prefer to have it in DDD format because shorter. And of course, the date or the name days is to be sorted by another column, which is day of week number. For this tutorial, our week starts Sunday. So Sunday is week zero, or I mean day zero. And in Power Query, you can simply use add column, date, week, and week of month. And it's by default, it is insert. By default, it begins on a Sunday. Oh no, sorry. It doesn't begin on a Sunday. It begins on a Saturday. And I think it depends on your current culture settings. Now, let me go back to that and discard the changes. Now, aside from that, we need to create another column. So this column is called month and quarter, or not month and quarter, but week of month. So what this does is that, for example, if the start of the month is Sunday and day one is Sunday, it means that from Sunday until Saturday, that's going to be week one. And the next Sunday is going to be week two. Now, what if it doesn't begin on a Sunday? So, for example, the start of month is a Saturday. That first day of the month is obviously week one. But what we want to happen is that since the beginning of our week is a Sunday, we want the next Sunday after that Saturday to be week two. And this is what this formula does. So EO months is to get the end of month. And if we use zero, it's simply return the end of month of the day, or whatever date we have here. Now, if we use -1, that's the end of month of the previous month, plus 1 becomes the start of month. And then we create an offset value, and after that, we try to calculate the week of month. Okay, so let me return result instead of that. So this is to make sure that whatever the start of month is, whatever day it is. If it is Saturday, then week one is only until Saturday. If it is Friday, then week one is from Friday to Saturday, and the Sunday after the Saturday is week two. Okay. And I do have some helper columns with me, which I call invisible quarter DAX. So what this does is it creates a no width space repeated by whatever number we have. So if I try to put this in a visual, so invisible. I have different versions of invisible columns. This one is created in Power Query using a character that from number, and this one is DAX. So if I add this to visual, I'm seeing four rows, and they have invisible characters in them. So 8203 is a no with space, and you repeat that based on the quarter number. And the same goes for invisible month and quarter. So why are we doing this? Later you will find out why. And then we need to have our week table. So first in this table, I created a list of numbers from 0 to 6. Why 0 to 6? Because 0 will be the placeholder for our month name, and there are supposed to be just up to 5 weeks in a month. But since, just for example, our start of month is a Saturday, that's going to be week 1. And if we have 31 days in a month, so naturally the last 7 or 6 days will be week 6. Oops. So convert that to a table, rename, and added invisible week number using character of the from number, just the same number as in our DAX formula. Okay, so let's try plotting our columns. And we'll be using a matrix. So dates table, date, no, not date, but day name short, then month and quarter. It's supposed to be columns. Expand that. And then quarter number. Let's say quarter number. And let's create a measure. Let's create a dummy measure. Call this dummy equals 1. and we will add that to our visual. And then we'll add the week number. Expand that. So you can now see how this will fare. So what I'm going to do is I'll remove the subtotals on. Okay, so let me just, instead of using these visible numbers, let me use our invisible columns. So invisible month and quarters. It's you can use par period or DAX. Doesn't matter. Oops, that's wrong. Invisible quarter. No, no. It'd be invisible quarter here. And invisible week number. Yeah. Remove the icon. And we do the same for our month and quarter. Invisible month and quarter. I think I forgot to create an invisible month and quarter in the query editor. Columns. Hmm. Oh, weird. Rows. Oh, okay. Rows. Supposed to be expanded. Hmm. Okay, month and quarter. Oh, this is not supposed to be here. And our quarter. Invisible quarter. Rows. And rename the columns or fields into the blank space. Change the formatting visual to none. We remove the grid line, column headers, remove that, and row headers, remove that. And let's add a grid line to our value section, just the top part. Now for the subtotal. Column headers, or column subtotal. So we disable the column subtotal for invisible quarter. And for the day name, let's change the total label to blank. And row grand total. No, row subtotals. Mhm. We'll get back to that later. And so we need now to start plotting our calendar values. So what we want to happen is the second one is this is actually week zero. This is week, yeah, this is the subtotal. This is week zero. And I'll be removing the subtotal from the rows. Now, so week zero, what we want to happen is first we need to change Wednesday to the month name. But before that, let me filter this down to a year so we'll get the correct calendar values later. Year basic filtering. That's 28. So let's go to our measure. So actually, I already have a calendar value measure. So what I'm going to do is I'll return the values one by one so we'll know what's happening. Return result. Okay, so first, what we want to happen is we want to get, we want to show the month name. So our condition is that if it is week 0 and it is a Wednesday, then we show the month name and the rest should return blank. So let's start with that one first. I'll just copy this and then else blank. And I'll place this with calendar value instead of dummy. Now you can see that we have January, February, March. Now let's go to the second one. Let's go back to that. Okay, so now we have the next condition, which is day count week. So what this does is that it counts the number of days within that week from, so for example, we have week one, here week one. It will count the number of days equivalent in our calendar table or dates table. And if it returns blank, then it should return blank. Why we are returning blanks? Because if we return any other value, we will end up with um, week 6 that doesn't have any dates. Some of these months will not have a week 6 day. So we want to make sure to return blank if this returns a blank. Let me copy this and then that's it. Return that. Okay. And finally, we want to return the day name formatted as 0. So this is the formula for our day. Oh no, not day name, but day of month. So we return the selected day, which is, again, that's day. Where's that day? Day, that's the day of month. For that specific week. Now we only need this filter here is because the rest of the columns we use are related to our dates table or are from the same table. Okay, so and we add an extra condition. So in this condition, we're telling DAX that if this is week zero, actually, I think this is redundant, but let's keep it that way. Redundant because we already have that here. So if this is week zero and there isn't a single value for the day, which will happen at the total column, we return a, this is not a blank in Power Query. This is kind of blank space without a character, similar to Unicar 8203. Otherwise, we return the day. So let's change that to result. And now we have our calendar table. So of course we need to finalize this. We need to add our conditional formatting. And we have our heat map value. Okay, so heat map value. So for our heat map values, create a new measure. Let's call this heat map value, which is we need to calculate. And for this, I'll be using sales amount, and week of month is equal to whatever the week of month we have here. So week selected value week number, and we'll be using this as our mm, oh, I do have week of value already. So I'll be using just, I'll be changing the name to 2 or heatmap value 2 and conditional formatting. mm, Conditional formatting, background color, heat map value 2, and we'll use gradient. Now you can use any other color. Just make sure that the colors or the text are still readable even in a quite a dark background. So and values only, and we don't need to format empty values. We don't need these blank spaces here formatted. Don't format. Not very visible, so let's select a different color this time, or maybe dark color. Okay, so now we have our full year calendar heat map. Well, that's it from me. Thank you for staying and have a good one. Bye bye.